My son's running from the front. You grab a chair. Grab a chair. Anyway, thank you very much. Before I start, I want to just introduce a video. So some of you guys might have seen this video, but I want to just tell you a little bit about where it comes from. The video comes from, you know, having gone through manufacturing, having and been at the top and tasting the bottom and really like dedicating myself to bringing awareness and education, you know, to traveling and going to the biggest schools across the country. And although teachers are heroes, I really saw flaws in the system. And it wasn't flaws. Come on, Brett, we know each other. Enough. But I saw flaws in the system, and it wasn't the teacher's fault. It was literally because they just didn't have the proper resources, the proper funding, and you know, people coming behind them to lift them up, to help them be successful. So with that on my mind, on a chance day, the state of California came through my door at my CNC shop and asked me for help because they had a prison machine shop that was close to 100 years old that was sitting in chains and dust and nothing was happening. And they had put millions and millions of dollars, yet nobody could get a job. And it just clicked to myself, like, I'm not in the business of building schools, but here's an opportunity to actually build a school on national television to inspire teachers to point at a template that they can actually copy and then build a curriculum to put it online for free to basically make a huge change, right? So here is a 5-6 minute video that just takes you on that journey of what we did. And at the end, you literally have guys who have never been on a computer before, don't know what the internet is, actually machining their own parts, designing, programming, and machining multiple parts in just a matter of weeks. So go ahead and check this out. So you sent in a letter and you made the first cut. You been in there for a while?
Since I was 20.
Took a man's life drunk in an alley.
Get in an altercation with a gentleman one night who threatened to shoot me and shoot my mother and came over my house. It resulted in me shooting him.
I learned these skills so when I get out, I can use them.
I got kids out there I gotta try to take care of.
Were you nervous coming in here?
Very.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want it?
I do. That's what I'm doing today. I believe in myself.
Do you see yourself changing your life and see yourself walking the walk? Can you visualize yourself as that guy?
All the time. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. I mean, you did it.
For the first time, what I did in the past can now be used for good.
Most guys who have that type of experience, no one ever wants to come back.
To be successful, they need to learn a trade, go out, get a job, and keep that job.
We have a machine shop that's not even being used right now.
CNC machining saved my life. And all I want to do is help them get the same second chance that I did. We have to create a program to make you valuable so you can walk out and get a good paying job.
Now we're looking at the shop trying to decide what should we do.
That one's gone.
Hayden is an expert in CNC machining. I'm an expert in remodeling, and we're going to make this brand new machine shop come alive.
We're going to get rid of the old machines. We're going to bring the best technology available. And we're going to build an elite manufacturing facility right inside the prison. Education is my passion. I get to speak at different schools, conventions all across the nation. I I get to go to all these amazing companies. I actually run a job shop where we're making the most difficult parts imaginable. My entire life experience has brought me to this point. Titans of CNC Academy.
We're lacking industrial schools, we're lacking teachers, we're lacking curriculum. So that is the vision. It's not just about building a school and saying clean. It's about using the entire foundation to inspire a nation.
All you have to do is listen to me and do what I tell you to do in the video, and you will know how to run these machines.
You know, I'm a good man. I got a lot to offer.
Designed it, machined it.
So now I'm just gonna go ahead and load the machine.
And now you're holding it in your hand.
This is the finished product right here.
How long you been here for? About a month and a half.
6 weeks. That's awesome.
For 20 years, I haven't seen this type of hope.
I consider myself lucky if I'm given an opportunity to get out.
It's just on you whether you choose to change or you don't, you know?
That's what rehabilitation is about.
We would create a school right in front of the world so they could learn from it and copy the template.
It won't be talking about my past, we're talking about my future.
Each and every one of us can see ourselves walking in footsteps like Titan. I consider him a friend, and this is somebody that's coming in and really wants to show how much he wants to help.
He always reminds us that if I can make it, you can make it. And it clicked like, yeah, of course I can do it too.
Me, I never really talked to white boys before I came to this prison. So when I started engaging with him, he was like, put his arm around me, shook hands and all that stuff there. It was like, man, this is a dude from the outside.
I see the person, you know, a very good person.
So when he did that, it was I felt like I was worth something. It was like the best thing that could happen.
He can relate to what it feels like when, you know, times need people die, and you're not there for your family, and you feel like a loser. And I know that he can relate to that.
We do have a lot to offer if someone is willing to believe in us, and that gives us the tool to kind of believe in ourselves.
He is the perfect person to somebody like me.
All right, so coming in here and actually speaking about the curriculum in the detail that we're going to today is actually a first for me, and I'm excited at the opportunity. So I just want to set a couple ground rules. And first thing is that let's just be completely down to earth. Let's have a good communication. If you guys have a question, no matter where I am in the day, please ask it. And don't leave here thinking, oh, I should have asked that question. I should have got that information. All right, so the school was tremendous. You know, coming into the school, you know, after having all the experience that I had, I kind of realized, I kind of was shocked by something. And that is that we are the greatest country in the entire world. We have more resources than anybody else, and yet our teachers don't have CNC machining resources. There is no national curriculum that is completely advanced that is actually given to our CNC teachers. And that is a problem when you are a country that is built on manufacturing products. So when I realized that, that's when I really stepped out to actually say, you know what? I've had this crazy life, and this is something important that I can be a part of, that my team can be a part of, and we have a shop right here. There's this huge valley right here, and nobody's ever stepped in it. Nobody's doing anything there. All these teachers basically have to figure it out on their own. And if they are talented, then the students will thrive. If they worked 20 years ago and just have a heart for the industry, then the students might not thrive because they're not getting the technology dished out to them the way that it could be if that person had experience in the real world today. So you always hear the term, not everybody's made to be a doctor, a banker, or a lawyer. And after being in prison, after going to prisons, never thought I'd go back, right? I realized that there are some brilliant people that basically just came up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and basically the circumstances took them on a journey. Did they commit crimes? Did they deserve to go in prison? Absolutely, because they made the choice. When I got in trouble, I made a choice to do something, to go out somewhere where I shouldn't have been, right? I started off, my life in Hawaii, homeless on the beach with my mom, because my mom was abused. She had taken me on to 20 different cities and different states trying to escape my father, and finally got an opportunity to go to Hawaii, and she thought, oh, this will be such a great opportunity to raise my son in Hawaii. And when we got there, everything fell through. We had nothing, and the only place we could go is to the beach. As soon as she started working construction and started working hard, and an owner of a construction company saw her walking 5 miles to work and doing the whole thing, he actually said, hey, you can pitch your tent in the back of my house. And I was excited because I was going to start school, right? And everything was going to be good. But all of a sudden, going over there, I suddenly realized that my skin color was different than everybody else's, and I was quickly singled out for not having a father, not having brothers, not having anybody to protect me, and I started taking beatings after beatings after beatings. Later in life, I realized that my grandfather was an artist. I realized that my mom was an artist. I've always been into art. I've always been somebody I can sit there for 10 hours straight and do oil paintings and do different things, but in this place, I just started literally getting beaten until a neighbor with tattoos on his legs that say born to rape and born to kill, who got complete respect, who I'm not judging or saying that that's right or wrong. Of course it's wrong, but this guy basically took me off the streets and said, hey, I'm going to teach you how to fight, protect yourself. And as soon as I started protecting myself, I started getting respect, and all of a sudden I started thriving. I wasn't the ugly white kid, the one that everybody picked on, but I was like, oh, did you see that? Oh, this and this. And I rose in that. I ended up being one of the top fighters in the United States. I got picked up by Bob Arum, went to Las Vegas, had people putting money into my bank account, and I ended up going out to a nightclub where fights broke out. Somebody pushed me back. I hit him with one punch like I'd seen a million times before, and he hit his head on the concrete. And I got 16 years in prison. When I went in, I was angry. I was angry at the world. I had 2 sons, my oldest, right over there, Tyson, and they were a mile away from me, and I would never see them again. I hadn't done good in school. I hadn't, I basically ruined my entire life, and everybody who put anything into me, basically, they got nothing back because I went into prison and I basically destroyed everything around me. After a while being in prison and doing some bad things, I actually went into solitary confinement where I couldn't do anything else, but they gave me a pencil and paper and allowed me to start drawing pictures. I started getting into my art. I started getting into my creativity. I started thinking all of a sudden when I saw that I was getting out, they were gonna put me in maximum security and take me down to medium security and down to minimum. I saw that, I actually might get out. And I know that, I'm 22 now, by the time I'm 25, I still have a shot at boxing. So I'm gonna draw all these cards, and I'm actually gonna give them to the inmates. I'm gonna trade them for food so I can bulk up. And I just got into my art and stuff and worked the system. This is a picture of my grandfather. I never met him, he passed away. That's my mom's dad. But later on when I owned my own machine shop, later on in life, I found out that he was actually a machine shop foreman at Boeing up in Washington, and he actually painted the bombers. That's 1942, and he was an artist, he was a machinist. I found out my other grandfather, when I met that side of my family, that he was a machinist, and it was just in my blood. But long story short is I got out of prison, I started fighting again. I ended up on one fateful night, I actually protected police officers who had gotten assaulted. I ended up hitting somebody during the entire thing. That person ended up going to the hospital. I wasn't in trouble because I was like sticking up for people and protecting people, but at that time, I basically walked away from the entire boxing, and I said, I'm never gonna hit another person ever. I moved to Sunnyvale, California, and basically looked in the paper and got a job for $9 an hour at this thing called machining, a machine shop, and I had no idea what it was. And granted, I ruined everybody's life. I did so much bad. I had so many people telling me how bad I was, how bad I was, how bad I was. But when I walked into this shop for $9 an hour, the money, and all my child support and my arrears and all, like, they put me in front of a CNC machine. And because we were a prototype shop, and because we did parts for NASA and Siemens and great companies and stuff, and we were busy, I got opportunities that a lot of people wouldn't get. And they allowed me to actually make little adjustments and make corrections and do different things. And one thing I quickly realized was that based on how I ran that machine, people were not in that atmosphere. They weren't gonna judge me based on who I was out on the streets. They're gonna judge me based on my productivity and efficiency. So I started just messing with the times and messing with the speeds and feeds and looking at the surface foot and the chip load and making adjustments and everything. And every time my boss would walk past my machine, I would tell him, his part was running at 9 minutes. I got it down to 6 minutes. That's 3 minutes. You got 1,000 parts. That's 3,000 parts divided by 60. I saved you this amount of money. And every single day, I just realized, like, I would just call my boss out. Oh, boom, I saved you this much money. I saved you this much money. And it was a daily occurrence. And I became his favorite person in the entire shop. Because I was a 26-year-old kid that basically was having fun making him money. And what happened? I went from $9 an hour to $11 an hour to $13 an hour to $18 an hour to $24 an hour to $28 an hour, when I finally decided that this stuff is way too easy. I don't like the Bay Area. There's a million shops up by Sacramento. I'm just gonna move over there and I'm gonna get a job and it's all gonna be good. And I basically left. On the day that I left, my boss gave me a toolbox. He had tried to lure me to stay and offered to buy me a house because it's not easy to find somebody young who has a head for this game. And when you find somebody like that, you need to keep them, something I've learned. And I just said, I'm from Hawaii and like the city's not for me. I just want to get out and go to the river and do things. And there's a whole bunch of shops up there. And I moved. And I hit a roadblock. I hit a roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. I went to big shops. I was programmed for a company called S&R. They had pallets of scraps, and they give me these programs, and I would just crank them out. And they had 1 million square feet of manufacturing space, 1 million, doing all kinds of applied work and different jobs and stuff. And I started like thriving in the programming. But every time I kind of stepped on the floor, I just didn't get along with the other machinists. I just didn't get along with the other production supervisors and the other people, because I was pushing and they were saying I was dangerous. And I'm like machining parts to tents. I'm like, I have no scrap. Like, how am I dangerous? Well, just slow everything down. And I'm like, but how are you gonna make money? Like, this is like this amount of money. And basically I went from shop to shop to shop. and I struggled. And then one day I met a guy who had 2 machines in his garage and he had no work. And I talked to him, I said, hey, I can hustle up some work. If you give me 10% of everything that I bring in, I'll actually program the jobs and then basically we can just make a cool shop. And he said, okay. And we started on our way. And I went to the company at Sonar, I got the perfect job. They said, you know, quote it. I looked at it. I said, 94 bucks. They said, everybody's scrapping this job. You sure you can do this job? And I was like, I looked at it. I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Put down $250. And if you actually dial this in, we will actually, after your first article, we'll give you your first order for 1,000 pieces. So all of a sudden it's $250,000. And instead of 5 tents on these huge hog outs, we got, instead of 5,000s, we got like 5 tents. It was just absolutely perfect. All of a sudden, money started coming in, and it's like, boom. The company was just machine after machine after machine after machine, and we're running the same job. And as a programmer, all of a sudden I wasn't needed because we had this massive contract. And I realized this guy who basically I worked with, who taught me how to run electrical, and taught me how to put up drywall, and taught me how to build a company, and we built it together, and we worked the long hours. He basically changed on me, and all of a sudden I realized this guy doesn't want me around, and I understood why, and I ended up leaving there just feeling helpless and just so frustrated. I went to another company. They had a bunch of manual machines. They were basically losing their company. And they said, Titan, do you know how to run CNCs? I said, absolutely. Can you help us change from a manual to a CNC shop? I said, absolutely. And I literally helped build that company. And after 4 years having a contract saying that this company is going to be yours, I'm going to retire, I'm going to go to Texas, on the day, basically, they said, you know what, we actually found a buyer and we're actually not going to be able to fulfill what we said we're going to do, but we put you in on a contract, boom, boom, boom. I step out on my own, start my own machine shop with 0 money in the bank. Just reputation. Every time machine reps and people came in, I'd be fixturing parts and doing things, and I'd be so proud of my art right there, and having them come in and look at it. And soon people, they get like pushed out of shops. And I'm like, oh, come check this out. Like, bam, like look at that, like, and they're like, finally somebody's using our tools the way they're meant to be used and stuff. And because of that, over years, all of a sudden, as soon as I went out, I had customers calling me and calling me and calling me and calling me, and I stacked up a row of 25 customers right as Hoss Automation denied me on a loan for my machines for $300,000. And then all of a sudden, Bill Selway, the owner of Selway Machine Tool, came in, and he actually co-signed my loan for my machines, and I started my company. And guess who was my first big customer? I don't know if you guys know him, but Seco in Reading, right up here. They gave me thousands and thousands and thousands of parts, and I got double vices, and I had 2 VF2 SS's, and I just made it a point. These things run at 833 inches a minute. I'm gonna make these tools go 833 inches a minute. And basically, I took their costs and just dropped it. Nobody could compete with it. And just killed it. Worked 18-hour days, put a bed in my shop. My wife would come and with the kids and actually watch movies with me, and I'd run 4 machines, and I went from 2. I had an older gentleman that had helped me out, and we went from us to get another person, to our first year we had 6 people, and it took us 10 months to make $1 million, and we were rolling. And then all of a sudden one day, they're like, oh, these jobs are actually going to our plant down in Mexico. I love Seco. I love these guys. They're actually bringing a lot of jobs back. Just if you know people over there, I love them. But at that time, they were taking work away. And all of a sudden, within a day, I lost like 70% of my work. And it was just like a horrific thing. These These are just a couple of the oil paintings. They're on my wall. I've done probably 10 real oil paintings and stuff. Although I got in trouble and I got in a lot of hundreds of street fights and did different things. And I got F's in school. There was always something about me where I just was very creative. I didn't know what machining was. I didn't know anything, but I was always just very creative. And I had this artistic thing, and I loved challenges. All of a sudden, on this day, went into the detail a little bit. Boom. So when I like, it's kind of hard to see with the light on and stuff, but then just the shadows going under the rocks. And when you look at the detail in the rocks, you look at the crevices, and then you look at a part from SpaceX with 40,000 little ribs that have to be within tenths and true positioning and everything. It's actually the same. It's just a little bit different. It's a different experience, but it's all creativity. I always tell people that, when I built my company, it's a programmer's mind. I have vendors, I have customers, I have employees, I deal with a lot of different things, but just like a painting in a lot of different colors and building from the background, the foundation up, or taking a piece of titanium like this and building it up, you just understand that there's a process and you just work it. And that is the creativity. And some of our kids are struggling at school, and yet in a shop environment, they can actually thrive. And then you actually get these kids that actually get a niche with technology right now, and they can just change their lives forever and make more money and just take care of their families and put their kids through school and make it happen and stuff. But with that artistic thing, my boy Brett over here. You know why I know Brett? Brett, how do I know you?
I was quality engineer for Edge for you as a supplier quality engineer.
You seen me when I was a kid coming into your shop, right? A little cocky, right? But making some nice parts, right? Honestly, right? I got a call literally the next day that I lost the work from Seco. I got a call from Rick Martinez. Brett knows Rick. And I didn't know Rick. I didn't even know who Schilling was. And he says, hey, we've actually heard about you and heard about this and this, and we're looking for new vendors, and can you come down to the shop? And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then I looked them up on the internet, and I was like, oh, Schilling Robotics, like, that is awesome. These guys make big HD ROVs. They actually hadn't done the HD yet, but they were doing it right when I stepped in. And basically, the arms are titanium. It's even called the Titan. Like, so what a good name. But basically, I went down there on a day, and not even really expecting anything, just being excited to walk into this shop, and this buyer who had a lot of experience, he basically walked me through the shop and blew my mind, and he took me over to a computer, and he basically said that they were being overcharged, the quality was going down, and they had this new HD ROV, and they really needed to get somebody that could actually come in and actually make some difficult parts for them. And basically, if I was as good as everybody said I was, that he would do this for me. And he showed me their top vendor, and in like a couple months, he had done like $3 million. And he's like, if you're as good as everybody says, I will do that for you. And I was like, okay. It's like, there's a catch. There's a catch. Tyler Schilling has this job, and basically there's only a few shops that we trust with it. We got these tight O-ring grooves and all these pockets, and basically we need this thing in like 2 weeks. A week would be nice, but we need this thing in a week. And by the way, it's made out of titanium, and it's Tyler's personal project. So like, if you take this on, it'll be really good for you. And I was like, okay, yeah, can you do it? I was like, absolutely. And I take the job and I walk it through, parade it through this pieces of material, and I tell my guys, like, this is our future right here. If we nail this part, if we nail it, then we're going to be successful. We're going to go next level. And we have no options right here because Seco just took a bunch of work from us and stuff. And literally I spent day and night on that part, machined everything. spit shined it. I joke around when I tell the story sometimes because I'm like, right when I got back from Rick, I actually Googled, I was probably not using Google, but I Googled and I was like, you know, how do you machine titanium? Because I had done so much aluminum so fast that I'd only done a little bit of titanium. This was a beast of a piece, but I understood that through sales reps, every tool, every material had a tool and that we could get it done. So about a week later, I called Rick and I said the part's done, and I took it down there. There were actually 2 parts that actually made it together. And you remember those parts with the big pockets with the dampers on and stuff? And I basically took it in and they gave it to Tyler. Tyler took it into inspection and walked me around, and they came back and he basically said this is like one of the most beautiful parts ever. And I mean, it was like perfect. And he took me to, from the inspection, took me to Rick, and he said, give this kid as much, I wasn't a kid, but you know, he was like, give this guy as much work as he can handle. And basically within 3 years going after it, I went from 6 employees, from 0 to 6 to 55 employees, from 4,000 square feet to 35,000 square feet, and basically solving problems. Tyler one day asked me, I'm getting ripped off on the water jet stuff, they're taking advantage of me, like, what do you think about water jet? I was like, oh yeah, I'm an expert. And I Googled water jet. And he said, problem solving. And then he, you know, and I told him, yeah, this is, but quickly I figured out what the machine was, what this was, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go buy this machine, I'm gonna put it in your facility, do this, and then basically just charge me labor. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, all these other jobs that you have me quote, how about you just take what everybody else is doing, and basically you pay for the material, then the labor, whatever the labor ends up being, cut it in half at 50% off, and basically just give me a purchase order and I'll honor that purchase order. And we just started making parts, and I started making like a 30-40% profit because of the way we were manufacturing it. And all the shops stood and said, they all talked mad, you know what, saying this guy's gonna go out of business, and this guy doesn't have enough experience, and he doesn't this, and he like, and they came up with all these experiences as their work was leaving and it was coming to my shop, and I was killing it. But why? I just thought different. There's no book in manufacturing that teaches you this trade. Some people have a gift, some people don't. Some people have a dad, some people have an uncle, some people go into a shop that they only make little tiny, you know, pieces and stuff, and other people walk into an opportunity where they make SpaceX and Blue Origin and Aerojet parts, you know, and based on where you come up and how you do things, that's going to directly affect how your mind works. And then you take your gifts and put that with it. And I just knew, like, I'm going to figure it out. You know, I didn't look at it. I had somebody have a Facebook group. Just in a few months, we're up to like 19,000 people where I'm personally like mentoring the trade, and there's just so much talent and teachers and awesome people on there, and they share and stuff. And somebody was yesterday like, Titan, like, how do you like quote, like, what's the hourly rate? And I'm like, it's all different. It's based on your experience, based on the complexity, based on all the variables, you know, in manufacturing. And you just have to have the head to figure out what you need, not be greedy, and then go after that work and compete against that opponent, because you are competing in this industry, whether it's the guy down the street or China or another country. One day, a friend of mine to this day, Alex, calls me up and he says, Titan, today's gonna be a bad day. I was like, what do you mean a bad day? And truthfully, at that point, it had all come to me so easy. I was overpaying my guys. I was overpaying everything, you know what I mean? I went from nothing to something so fast, you know, and as soon as we had these machines, these guys were like, oh, we're building 12 of them. Oh, then we're doing 24. Oh, next year we have to do 48, then we have to do 72, then we gotta, and you build like, literally you're building like 60-70% of all the parts, like you better keep up, otherwise like we gotta go do something else. And I ran so fast and I built so fast, and the visions that I had to help the industry and do things in life like got put on the side. You know, I used to go to church, I used to go do all these different things, and all of a sudden I was telling my wife, like, you know, if he didn't give me the work, like, you know, he gave me the work, so I need to actually do the work. That's why I'm working on Sundays and Saturdays and every single day. I'm putting in the long hours, and I've almost neglected everything else in my life to go on this path. But right at that place where I was just kind of right for it, like I didn't know, but I was kind of lost. I can look at it now, and I was kind of lost. Alex tells me all the work is being put on hold. All these ROVs are being put on hold. And I was like, hold, like what does hold mean? And I had been so confident. I'd never experienced it before because I was always out competing people. I looked at it and I heard stories about the waves, and I looked at my bank account and I just kept machining and putting the parts on the shelf, and I kept thinking like, that's money in the bank, money in the bank, money in the bank. And then a machine tool rep came into my shop and he's like, Titan, did you hear what happened with Tyler? And I was like, no, I know he's not answering my calls. It must be crazy for you to hear this story, huh? You never heard it like this, but I mean, he's experienced it. But he's like, Tyler just stood at the door and shook hands with almost 100 employees as he let them go. And you know that feeling where you know this thing, it's going bad. Like you're crash landing and there's nothing you can do. And over, seriously, you know, literally before that, I had spent 6 months and I wrote letters, and I started getting my first jobs with SpaceX. But the work was so complicated. Now it's not just titanium, like it's titanium, it's not just intense, it's in like thin-walled, crazy, you know, things. And like I literally, only a few of my guys were even qualified to work on this stuff. And I got 55 guys. And, you know, through 2009, literally, I spent most of my days on my knees and on this bridge, like begging, like, to save my shop. And I would eventually lay off 40 employees. And by the time 2010 came through, I had seen the worst of the worst, you know, and I worked so many hours. I worked 7 days a week. I gave it all. I took time away from my family. I did everything. And that quick, my house is gone, my cars are gone, my boat's gone, all these material things are gone. And it really, I could just stop in time and it all didn't even matter. Like it didn't even matter, like it was gone. And you know, certain events happened, and I ended up saving the shop and going full-time into aerospace. One of the engineers from SpaceX, it's kind of cool. This is a patch that actually went to the space station. It's a letter from SpaceX thanking us for the work that we did on the F9 rocket. So we've had parts from the first F1s to the first F9s, all the way through to the heavy-duty rocket that just went up and stuff. And it's something, you know, I used to be in prison. It's something I'm extremely proud of. I used to make parts that go to the bottom of the ocean, make parts that go up to space and Mars, and basically everything in between. But one of the top engineers at SpaceX actually went over to Blue Origin. You know, Elon and Jeff Bezos hate each other, literally. And basically they were having problems with people to build those parts, so we actually ended up making 80% of the parts on the BE-3 engine right there on that Shepard rocket, and they actually took our cards up to space on their first flight when they first landed that rocket right there. But when you lay off 40 employees, and I'm not the biggest person, so other people have laid off hundreds of thousands of people. 40 people, that's my family members, that's my friends, those are people I broke bread with, those are guys that I sold a vision to, men and women, and then I had to literally sit down with these people and let them go, and it affected me. I'm not cold like that. Like, it affected me in a way that I didn't want any part of machining. I started making parts for rockets, and everybody came in, they're like, this is so incredible, and these are like, oh, man, look at that finish, and like, I'd already done a million great parts. I'd already had people tell me that, oh, you guys are like unbelievable, and this, it just didn't even matter anymore. During my downfall, I talked to the city mayor, I talked to the city manager, I talked to everybody I could, trying to figure out how to get through the wall, and I realized, like, man, there's 50,000 people, companies just like me, that are going out of business all over this country. Like, this work has just been given away. And what I know from my experience is that all these shops can talk and they can do all this, but the truth is they're all in their confines, in their box, not speaking to other people because they're competitors, and they're too busy fighting over scraps, and they talk and talk and talk, but the truth is they're only working at 30% of their capabilities, maybe 10. And that's every single shop I've ever been to in my entire life. It is a reality. And sometimes you just don't have the money to out manufacture and out build, the fixture plates and do the different things and stuff, but there's so much that we can do, and it really starts with attitude, right? So, although we were making parts for SpaceX, I just really had a broken heart for the industry, and I just thought to myself, man, we gotta make a change. How do you bring awareness to this industry? And then all of a sudden, somebody who had read something about me in Pennsylvania asked me to go speak at this huge conference for parole officers and for the parole department, because they saw somebody who was doing good and basically wanted to hear from me that I'm a success story. And I went over there and I spoke. I'd never spoken in front of people. I hid from that. And all of a sudden I had lines of people in tears, and they were like, where are you speaking at next? I'm like, I'm going back to my machine shop and running. I was like, man, I just want to make a difference. And all of a sudden I went I went back to my shop, and I was just like, man, I want to make a difference. I love manufacturing, but I just want to I almost lost everything. I just want to make a difference. And all of a sudden, I did not know how. I'm like, should I go to college? I'm not the type to. And all of a sudden, the phone rang, and the guy on the phone said, hey, this is Chad from Discovery Channel. And all of a sudden, my mind, the sales mind, just was like, oh, Discovery Channel. Oh, you calling the guy who went from homelessness to boxing to prison to building a great American job shop. I'm going to bring the work back. And he's like, no, man, I just need a part, man. And I was like, oh. But in that second, I realized there's no billboards showing our kids manufacturing. There's no commercials. They see choppers and they see machines running at incredibly low rates. But nobody really understands that when you pick up a piece that says made in China, I'm not dogging China, they're serious about manufacturing. Well, nobody really understands that. They just think that's normal. And why wouldn't they? Because there is no shows, there is no commercials, there is no billboards, all the counselors are pushing our kids into different places, and many of them are failing because that's not what they were created to be. And I was like, we need to create a TV show and basically bring awareness to this trade, and that's what we did. Right at that point where we realized that there's 3.4 million US manufacturing jobs needed in the next 10 years. 2 million are going to go unfulfilled due to the skills gap. That does not include companies like SpaceX that are rising up all across California to do aerospace work. They're divvying up space right now, and Elon and all these guys Virgin, they've all basically set the tone and showed everybody what is possible, and now technology is rising and the parts are getting more complicated, and that does not reflect all the machinists, the good paying jobs that are currently needed right this second, because everybody calls me and says like, I can't find workers, but in a couple years, it's gonna be through the roof. I'm ahead of myself. So we created the TV show Titan American Built. Machinists creating TV, oh, it's dangerous. Everyone was like, oh, you gotta be like over the top, and it was cool. We traveled and we went to all these different companies and we showed manufacturing, and just like a part, I looked at the film and I talked to different guys, and I'm like, how can we get better cameras? How can we make them look better? How can, and I gained more confidence in different things. And we went through the first season, and I had a lot of people saying that they're changing their shops, they're hiring, they're running faster, they're making a difference in the trade. And it was exciting, And then the second season, just clips of the first season right here. Going into the second season, let's make parts for drag racing. Let's like make parts for race boats. Let's make parts for motorcycles. Let's make parts for whatever. Let's run titanium. Through the entire, I already said, through the first 2 seasons, we went from shop to shop. We did all this, and I saw all this change. But I really looked at education, and I was really inspired by that. I really saw that as the problem, because so many people were so far behind technology that they just didn't understand it. And no TV show is going to truly change somebody's thought pattern. It's good that you can see titanium. If you're running titanium at 10 inches a minute, I'll show you how to run it at 250 inches a minute. It's good that we have that argument right there. You're telling me that I can't do it, and I'm like, it's on the TV screen, you know what I mean? And because it gets people thinking, but at the same time, it just wasn't working. And then all of a sudden, the opportunity to do the shop. This is the shop when I walked in. Just slowing down for a second away from the video. This is what. And it was me, a construction teacher, and my team filming and stuff, and we basically went in there, and because I had learned how to build shops, because of these experiences that were negative, it actually qualified me to go in here and actually build the shop the way it needed to be. Literally, brick by brick, breaking everything down, building everything up. Went to Microsoft and asked for free computers. Went to Autodesk, asked for different sponsorships. Went to Haas and got deals. UMC 750s. Everybody's like, Queen, UMC 750s in the prison. What about our kids? I'm like, dude, I'm helping all the kids too, man. What's going on? You can't please everybody, but I mean, think about it. California has, I think, 138,000 inmates. 90,000 of those inmates are actually getting out. They have dates. And less than 10% of them are going to have any type of education. And we wonder why they keep committing crimes and hurting people. Not like me, if somebody's going to move in next to me and they were in prison, I understand how bad that can be. I don't want them living by me if they don't have a way to support themselves and I'm going to work. I mean, just being real, So I took this as an opportunity. I was qualified to go in there, build a shop, and actually speak to them in a way that they actually listened to me, because I was qualified to speak. Carl Bastick came in there, changed his life. CEO of Autodesk, he stepped down. So after the break, I'm gonna get into the curriculum. I'm gonna talk in depth about the curriculum, what it is, and why it was designed that way. And then a little bit later in the day, we're actually going to literally program a part. And we're gonna basically show you guys how easy it is, and just slow down and answer any questions, and let's just do it so that you understand and you can see it, and then you understand that there are videos, and all you have to do is follow that video. and you'll be successful. This is my shop today. It's a big old piece of blue. And this is what we're doing. So we are stepping 100% into education, 100%. Doing some production work and stuff, but I basically had a talk with SpaceX, I had a talk with my top companies. I just said, I'm gonna pull back because I'm one of hundreds of thousands of companies. I got a big name, I can do that anytime, but nobody is doing anything with the education to actually help lift up these teachers and get shoulder to shoulder and actually teach them. So we're gonna actually turn our shop in the next coming months, and I've been selling it to my sponsors and everything, and we're still gonna be giving free curriculum and free education to all the schools and all the students and stuff, but basically we're turning our shop into a school for teachers so that you can come in and we can go shoulder to shoulder and we can talk about the hows and whys. We can actually make parts together. This is how you do it. You know what I mean? This is why. Oh, I don't believe this and I don't believe that. Let's try it, man. You know what I mean? I believe in all aspects of the game. I just believe that there's a time and a place, and through experience, you have to have a good game plan to get as far as possible, as quick as possible, and understand that every single time you make a part, you're going to touch different tools and touch different things, and your experience is going to grow over time. But instead of going so slow over here, let's actually get into the parts quickly that allow you to actually be a pillar in a company and make good money and help somebody make payroll. Let's get there quicker. So you can come in, we're gonna program. One of the things, this is gonna be next, but let me explain something. So we design and we program before you touch a CNC, and most teachers say that most teachers that haven't actually had a conversation with me and sat down and asked me questions, most will say that it is wrong. And I've heard everything, but there hasn't been a single person, a single teacher that has actually spent some good time with me, that actually understood the philosophy, that has actually said, you know what, I don't like it. Every single one has come back and actually said, you know what, this is like amazing, this is awesome. I think a lot of people, like when CNCs went from tapes to hitting the scene, and you're dealing with a $50,000 machine, you're dealing with a $100,000 machine, $200,000 machine, and you know that you can put a 5 point instead of a 0.5 and cause $20,000 damage. People are timid, right? That's my life savings right there. This is a kid. This is let's teach them how to file before we put them on a CNC machine, right? Like, I get it, you know what I mean? Let's teach them how to do different things and stuff. And every time you walk, I walk doctors and lawyers through, and they stand and they're fascinated by the CNC machine, and they wouldn't even know where to start, right? And that's what happens is we take guys from manual, we take guys and we put them on a CNC, and we introduce them to the CNC. And like, if you put me in front of a car engine that had 800 parts, I wouldn't know what to do. It'd be quicker for me to start driving the car, and as it breaks down or I gotta go into service to learn more about the engine and stuff. But if you just tell me to know everything, I'm just not going to get it. And I really don't understand the concept behind it. So I think that a lot of people actually go to CNCs and they see the computer and they see the machine and they know the money, and they're intimidated by the process. So what I've done is basically flipped it on its head, and I basically said, let's not just put you in front of a CNC. Check out this software now. Instead of having this massive amount of buttons up here, you just got these ones right here. Now, I know that there's hundreds of thousands of different tools. Don't worry about that. Here's 5 tools, all right? And we're gonna actually make this part. We're actually gonna make, I don't have an easy part, but it'll be an easy part. We're gonna actually make this, all right? So, first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw this from this print. Or you don't know decimals, or you don't know how to use inspection tools, it's okay. Just follow the video and just do exactly what I tell you to do. Now the software is so easy, like, oh, rectangle, click, extrude, expand, 4 inches, 1.9, enter, right click, extrude, 750. It's a solid model in like 6 seconds, like literally. You know, and you just make the part. What happens now, what happens is the person who just made the part has intimate knowledge about that part. A good machinist has a feeling for the machine. People can say, oh, you can't touch a CNC like a manual and you can't feel that cut. I can hear a CNC machine and tell you exactly where, and I can be across the shop and tell you where to put the speed at, where to put the feed at to get that chatter out. Because I know I'm in depth, I'm intimate with that machine. I can put I can feel that vibration, and I can just, and I can just solve that problem, right? Because I understand it. People who don't understand it, they'll speak like, oh, the money and but I understand it. So when I take a kid and I tell him to draw this, and I put the 1032 threads in, he doesn't know what a quarter 20 is. I'm just like, let's put this 1032 thread in and do this and click this and do this and do this and boom, and okay, now check it. Let's go back and check it to your print. Check it to that number. Oh, they match up, they match up, they match up. The pocket's 500 deep. Check that out. You can like, you're like, oh, it looks so good, you know. Hey, let's program that. I know. You should not be teaching them the program. They've never been on a CNC machine. Don't worry about 100,000 parts. Here's tools. Here's 5. This is a face mill. Every single part you ever do, most 90% of them, you're going to use this on the first because there's a process. So just follow my lead. We're just going to face the top. We're going to kiss it. All right. So just put this here, put here, put here, put here, put here, put here, put here, enter. Just do what I tell you on the video. Do exactly what I tell you. Here's an end mill. Here's a chamfer mill. Here's a drill. Here's a tap. All of a sudden, now that's simulated. Oh, wait. I see the tool holder comes down and I can check the speeds and feeds. I can check the time running. I see the cut. I can flip it around. I can look at it. Look underneath it. Oh, that just cut the top. Here's an end mill. Oh, I can look at it. Oh, that's awesome. You know, I can drill it. I basically went through the entire machining process, learning what these tools do, because I actually programmed it on a part that I actually know, 750 by 1.9 by 4 inches. And I go through the whole process and do it again and again and again, let my teacher go through it, and then what happens now? I step to the machine. I'm not even thinking about a million different things. What I just did on that simulator, I'm gonna do in this machine. And I have this checklist that tells me I just have to do everything on this checklist, and every single thing on the checklist has a video attached to it to teach me how to do it, and I have my teacher backing me up. So let's just go through 0, 0, double check everything. We're just gonna make a part. And then you make another part, and another part, and another part. And through repetition, through making something over and over and over, and every single part just gets a little bit more complicated. You start engraving, you start doing this. All of a sudden, you just start learning the trade slowly and problem solving as you go. And in record time, you just start making parts. And all these teachers who now are doing it, who had 3 students and 7 students, now their classes are maxed out because the kids are making chips, and there's a buzz in the school and everybody's excited, and it's safe and it's high tech and it's awesome. And now whenever I walk into a stadium of kids, they're like, boom. I'm like, because we teach them to watch race cars, and that's competitive. Machining is competitive, but be competitive in your ability to get those tints in. Be competitive in your entire approach to just kiss and rock hard and then come back and lighten the tension, just hold it and just make it perfect. Be competitive in your ability to hit those surface finishes and those O-rings and just make sure you got plus or minus 5, make it tense, make it perfect. And all of a sudden these kids, like Dan Frank he's not here, but he's been doing the program. We're going to hear a little bit about him later, and his kids are now making master parts. Why? Because they went from nothing to the Titan parts. They learned how to manufacture. Now they can just go make these parts. Hawthorne High, right next to SpaceX, they were doing nothing, and now they did the Titan parts. They learn how the fundamentals work, and now they're making NASA parts. Like that, and the kids are just killing it. And you see these robots and stuff, and they're just murdering it.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yesterday, the state director for, Friday,
Yes.
the state director for career technical education visited Dan Frank's classroom and Titan's workshop because I wanted her to see what an average school can turn out to be. And she was so impressed. So she's going to be talking to the state superintendent about getting us some more funds to be able to get schools the equipment that's necessary. So fingers crossed.
Thanks, Mary.
She actually, in our shop, you probably didn't hear this one, but you can call on us. She actually dropped tears on my floor. With such passion, right? I mean, just an amazing woman.
She was a CTE teacher.
Yeah, heart for the industry. Just pictures of the shop, how we're making it. Boom. You know, when I was boxing, people used to tell me like, they'd be like, man, you can be the best boxer in the world, but if you don't have game, like if you can't put, you know what, in those seats, you're not gonna make any money. And we just have an opportunity. It's kind of cool that we actually get to build a school for teachers and do everything and do it in front of the world because everything's televised and all the curriculum and all the tutorials and everything's televised. And now we have the biggest sponsors, Haas Automation, DMG Mori, Kennametal, big companies that are getting behind us saying that this is worthy and we're going to support Titan and his team and they're going to do big things. And that concludes, look at it.
Perfect.
I was like a minute late. Oh, come on. That was Mary's fault. Like, I'm just saying, like, what's the plus or minus? Like, no, I'm just kidding. So anyway,
Take a 2-minute
we're
break.
gonna take a break now. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
This is okay, Titan.
Yes.
I want to ask a practical question.
Yes, call me out.
Okay, so you're gonna, I guess, are you basically gonna stop production and start doing education stuff completely at the shop?
I'm running some machines production right now, but yes, I'm basically turning my entire facility into an educational facility where we're going to build curriculum, we're going to build tutorials, we're going to teach people how to actually make SpaceX parts, how to do titanium. So I'm not just doing the easy stuff, but I'm teaching the experts how to be even better. So whether it be, GD&T to Inconel to, everything. We're going to teach the entire thing at our facility. So yes, 100% education.
Okay, so the question is, hopefully it's okay if I ask this. Somehow you're still going to put food on your table.
Yes.
I know. I guess, is that something you can talk?
Yeah. So let me be completely honest. I've given everything to this. Like everything. Like I give a good living to my family and stuff, but I've emptied my bank account because I haven't been able to get the right sponsors. Everybody wants to give you free stuff, but they don't want to give you money. You know what I mean? I got such a heart for the industry, and I know that I'm paying my dues and doing the different things and stuff. But I also, it's been a tough road, and most people, they want to watch and see if you're going to fail before they put their name there. But we're still here. You gotta have that tenacity, you gotta have that grit, and there's times where I'm just like, like right now we're having to do a bridge right here, which is tough, but I'm experienced through the turmoil, and stuff. But we've talked to the right people and we've impressed the right people and companies that, it's like a business, right? So they have to look at how can they make money. So I use machines, I use tools, I have probably the biggest following in manufacturing if you count all of our platforms. I don't think there's anybody even close. And we're getting the kids excited and stuff. And now because we have sustainability, we've been consistent over a period of time, and we have something called talent where everything that we put out is on such a high level that people respect it. We actually now are, for the first time, actually getting some sponsors who are stepping up to actually help us with money that goes 100% to the education and to funding our just like a school or something would have, needs, we have put forth a plan of action that we need to fund, and these are the steps and things that we're going to do, and it's all around helping this industry, so go ahead.
So you're going to have a curriculum. How can we make sure that that curriculum flows through into the community colleges, universities, and quite frankly, most importantly, our manufacturing sector?
Yeah. So let me tell you, and I don't want to cut into your break too much. And then later on, they gave me 50 minutes for questions, and I told them that literally wasn't enough. So we were going to pull back a little bit on some of the things we were going to say to give more questions at the end of the day. But one of the things that I'm proud of is, in a year, little old me with my team of incredibly talented people, we went from nothing. Like we don't have money Hoss has. We don't have money. Like we literally took money that we were using for the show, and I just partnered it with the show to build a curriculum and stuff. And again, just emptied my bank account and did everything, and they know that that's the truth to make it happen and stuff. But what's happened all of a sudden in just over a year and a few months, we have 35,000 students on our online making parts. There's pictures. If you guys are on our Facebook group, anybody on our Facebook group? Right on, man, right on. There's like pictures from all over the world of kids, adults of all ages, proud, showing off their parts, and it's just spreading. It's in 170 different countries, and still, so we've just been blessed in a way that we're building such a positive community. We police it so good, and people want a place that they can learn, they can ask questions and do different things and stuff. And so I don't think that it's, today, this was the first time that I did this, and it's only because Mary was like, tackled me, and you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, I need you to come over here and like teach these teachers. And I was like, okay, like it's the first time we'll do it, but like, let's do it. And I mean, I'm super happy, but that's what we got to do. We just got to pound the pavement. But the cool thing is the internet, everybody's on social now, and it's just exploding, and teachers are talking to teachers, and they're like, hey, your class was dying. Like now you're like blowing up. What happened? And they literally like, it's the curriculum. So other teachers are like, oh yeah, we need to like get on board and stuff. And
has anyone looked at the recidivism rates for inmates who do go through the CNC machine?
So until we actually did it, when I went in there, they had like a couple Haas machines. For 2 years sitting there, they were brand new. They hadn't done anything with them. They just had money and they spent it, but they didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So just not even a year ago, I actually finished. So people are only now just coming out. But I'll tell you that one of the cool things that we did, it was a week ago, that I basically put out a thing. I said, hey, if you are a manufacturing business or you're a college that's using our curriculum, please endorse us. And in a week, over 680 different official endorsements. So literally the whole country is kind of coming around us at the right time and stuff. But I get calls every single day for people like, I want to hire your students. I want to hire, like, how do we find out these kids that are coming out of high school and find? So we're actually creating almost like a dating site where people who endorse us and people who go up there who are teaching it. If you're in that area, like you're a graduate, you can actually go and contact these companies because it'll say if they're hiring or not and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Answer your question? Yeah.